Revealed. The unexpected night that transformed her life, making a millionaire fall madly in love. Emma stood at the entrance of the town hall, her heart racing. The laughter and warmth spilling from the crowd felt like a barrier, keeping her from the comfort she longed for. She brushed a stray hair behind her ear, her fingers trembling slightly. This was not just another fundraiser. Tonight could change everything. The rain created a soothing rhythm against the roof, but all she could hear was the cacophony of doubt in her mind. Lily was at home with Grandma Joan, and she hoped her daughter wouldn't feel the weight of her struggles at just 6 years old. Emma wanted more for them, to build a life that felt alive, vibrant, filled with laughter like the noise echoing around her now. But it was nights like these that reminded her of the gulf between what she dreamed of and what she lived each day. Would she ever have her own coffee shop, a place where connections blossomed over steaming cups? Or was that just a fantasy woven from moments of exhaustion, a dream shaped by the hard lessons from her grandmother? Taking a breath, she stepped into the hall. The room was overflowing with familiar faces, dressed in the glow of hope. But then, there he was, Nathan. The suave CEO looked distinctly out of place, yet his eyes were soft as they met hers, a flicker of recognition passing between them. Did he even know the weight that came with ambition? For all his success, was he as disconnected from his past as she felt in this moment? As the crowd cheered for local initiatives, Emma took a step closer, compelled by an invisible thread. Their conversation flowed, and each shared memory about childhood was a balm on her insecurities. Yet as she laughed, a part of her pulled back. He was from a world so far removed, cloaked in wealth that felt impenetrable. How could her small ambitions compete with his vast resources? Wasn't success, after all, just a currency tying them to expectations that could never align? Before she could voice her thoughts, he casually suggested investing in her dream coffee shop. The air seemed to shift, pressing upon her like a weight. Disbelief coursed through her veins. Accept help from someone like him? Wasn't that surrendering her dream? Things could have grown quiet then, her uncertainty creating a barrier. But Nathan just waited, eyes steady, patient. Heart racing, Emma struggled against her instincts begging her to flee. Just as hope began to unfurl, heartache struck like a thunderclap. A betrayal bloomed from her inner circle. A trusted friend had whispered her vulnerabilities away, casting shadows on her past with secrets she never knew existed. Everything started to spin, a tough reckoning swinging in with the rain outside. Loyalty faltered beneath the weight of hidden truths. They sizzled in her mind, leaving her gasping. How could she stand up for those who had always stood for her when her own foundation felt shaky? As chaos danced in her head, she caught Nathan's gaze again. He didn't look away, held her in his eyes. A whisper of something fierce ignited within her, one that demanded respect for all the sacrifices her family endured. The laughter around her faded, focus narrowing on the simmering intensity. They both seemed to stand on the edge of something monumental, yet Emma was back on a precipice of doubt. But that was just the beginning. Shadows writhed behind smiles, whispers hidden beneath laughter, and just when she thought she could push through the uncertainty, the revelation of Nathan's past shattered her world anew. Could both their lives intertwine without losing the essence of their dreams? With her heart racing and a storm brewing both inside and out, Emma stood on the brink, wondering if she could conquer the fear lurking in the shadows, while still holding tightly to the dreams that anchored her. Emma found herself in a haze as she walked through the gathering of voices, each one a reminder of the fractures in her own life. The laughter colliding around her felt foreign, as if the jovial atmosphere was a veil obscuring her reality. She could feel Nathan's intriguing gaze on her, pulling her back from the abyss of her thoughts. With every heartbeat, the choice before her grew heavier. Instead of fading into the background, she could seize this opportunity. But could she actually allow herself to be vulnerable enough to trust in someone else's vision for her life? The idea rolled around in her mind, colliding with her ingrained self-sufficiency. Her grandmother had shown her the importance of independence. Lean on no one, she had always said. And yet, here Nathan was, extending a hand yet questioning her independence. As Nathan stood with a stillness that radiated strength, Emma felt a stirring deep within her, a voice breaking free from years of self-doubt. She remembered the late nights spent dreaming of her café, the scent of freshly ground beans mingling with the laughter of friends and strangers alike. That vision had been suffocated beneath her fears, but Nathan's unexpected proposition revived the embers of possibility. Taking a breath, she stepped closer, her voice firm yet laced with uncharacteristic wavering. "What are you not telling me, Nathan?" Why would you want to invest in my coffee shop? Surely I'm not the project you need to tackle? Nathan held her gaze, and for a moment, the bright chatter of the room fell away, leaving only the two of them cocooned in a space defined by unspoken truths. You strike me as someone who has a fire inside, he replied gently. Fire. She'd always fought to nurture it, battling external pressures and the creeping shadows of failure that loomed. But now, another kind of pressure stirred within her, the pressure to confront her lack of belief in herself. What if you lose faith in me? She blurted, vulnerable and raw. What if I can't make it work? His expression softened, as though he understood the terrain of her fears intimately. What if I believe in you more than you believe in yourself? Sometimes, the hardest part of a dream is not the effort to achieve it, but to allow yourself to accept help. His words resonated with her, the truth of them igniting something fierce in her spirit. It was a form of liberation she had never expected to encounter in a simple conversation across a crowded hall. Yet, that liberating flicker crashed into a wall of doubt. Would dependence on Nathan, a stranger with power, set her back further? Moments of clarity punctured her tension like tiny pinpricks of light in murky waters, but they consistently collided with the struggles she faced alone. If she took a leap, would she become a mere reflection of Nathan's vision instead of embracing her own? Pouring her thoughts into the ebb and flow of the dialogue, she sensed the shift taking place inside her. A determination replaced hesitance as she mulled over the possibilities that désormais lay before her. The idea of creating something that bore her mark, infused with her essence, began to solidify. But she also realized that stepping into the unknown required reckoning with the friend who betrayed her. To confront the whispers of insecurity, she needed to fortify her resolve, to test the fragile layers of trust in herself and in Nathan too. The moment of truth had arrived, a demonstration not just of ambition, but of her willingness to embrace risk. As Nathan smiled, genuinely intrigued, Emma sensed an unknown chapter unfolding. Her heart heavy yet full of razor-sharp determination, Emma understood she stood at a crossroads. The future lay before her, shaped by decisions echoing from the past and illuminating paths she thought forever closed. With the room bustling around them and her thoughts spinning like dervishes, she resolved to confront her demons head-on. Would she acknowledge the betrayal, and how could she bring that confrontation into alignment with the unfolding opportunity at her feet? A sense of urgency swept through her. The answers and paths diverged, but she was ready to make the tough calls needed to reveal who she truly was. As excitement mingled with undeniable fear, she contemplated the steps ahead, determined to carve her own path forward. Could she unite her wounded past with the shimmering prospect of her future? Emma understood she was about to uncover truths about herself she had long buried beneath layers of doubt and fear. When the night concluded, the first step toward that truth would hinge on a decision she never anticipated she would have to make. Would her choices lead to empowerment, or could they be her undoing? Emma stood still for a moment, the dimming lights of the gathering casting an ethereal glow around her. The laughter of distant friends echoed, yet all she could grasp were the fragments of her own tumultuous thoughts. The voice of her grandmother rang in her ears, a constant reminder of her own independence and resilience. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Yet Nathan's presence challenged the very fabric of those beliefs. I'm starting a business, she had voiced, but the weight of those words hung heavily. What lay behind them was a world of dreams and aspirations she had been too afraid to pursue alone. Nathan's unwavering gaze demanded a response, and it struck her. Perhaps beneath the layers of doubt and betrayal was a kernel of strength ready to emerge. Taking a bold step forward, Emma felt her pulse quicken. If I let you invest in my dream, I need to know what's in it for you, she demanded, her voice steadying into an urgent tone, blending vulnerability with determination. Nathan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. It's quite simple. I see potential, and I think you can harness it. I need a partner that believes in their vision. His words struck like a bell in the silence, and for a heartbeat, Emma felt a flicker of hope igniting. But what if I fail? What if I lose everything I've built? The question slipped out, an abrupt thrust of honesty. Then we learn from it, he replied, his steadfast attitude radiating comfort. But first, you need to learn to trust yourself. We can't build anything on shaky foundations. His reply prompted a delve into her inner reservoir of self-reflection. Could she trust herself enough to pivot into this newfound dynamic? She had always guarded her dreams fiercely, choosing to shield herself from potential pain. Yet this risk, though terrifying, felt like the very spark she needed. A tide of old memories turned within her, a series of setbacks vividly replaying the betrayal she had suffered. The friend who had once promised to share her dreams had instead watched them unravel. The pain stung still, but perhaps it was time to confront that hurt. Would admitting past pain facilitate her growth? Let's strip it down. Who are you, Emma? Nathan's question lanced through her muddled thoughts. What truly drives you? Emma paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. This was not merely about her café. It was about her identity. I've always been the brave one, chasing after visions that felt just out of reach, she said slowly, the words crystallizing in her mind. Yet when the time came to act, I faltered. Then act today, he urged, his calm authority pushing her to the brink of a decision. Find a plan that speaks to you, not me. Reclaim your vision and validate your independence with each step you take. The night air around them felt charged, a tapestry of possibilities unfurling. Emma's heart beat to a new rhythm, one of rising determination. I will study the market, write a business plan, and map out ways to reach my audience. It won't be easy, but I will put in the work if you're willing to guide me. As her words settled in the air between them, she felt the atmosphere shift. The uncertainty that once loomed over her began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of camaraderie. Was this not how allies were formed? In challenges faced together? Then let's start now, Nathan said, an encouraging smile lighting up his features. Your certainty becomes our strength. We build together. We win together. In that moment, Emma sensed a transformation taking place. She was not merely extending her hand, she was reclaiming her narrative. With Nathan as a potential partner, her independence could rebirth amid trust. A surge of exhilaration washed over her. What lay ahead could be anything short of remarkable. As they brainstormed excitedly, mapping out her ideas with fervor, Emma felt the ghosts of her past begin to fade. Yet, in the back of her mind lingered the knowledge that the confrontation with her betrayer was still imminent, a specter she would not avoid. The sooner she faced them, the less power they would hold over her future endeavors. Determined, Emma pushed those thoughts aside for another day, ready to harness the fire inside that Nathan had sensed. But as possibilities unfolded, she couldn't shake off the growing curiosity about Nathan's background. What were his hidden motivations? Trusting him meant examining the bounds of their potential partnership. Emma glanced at him, the question forming in her mind. What do you really want from this venture with me, Nathan? The air crackled with tension, and she realized that the road ahead wouldn't just be about business. It would be about understanding each other entirely. Emma took a deep breath, the question hanging between them like a charged wire. Nathan regarded her with a mixture of interest and respect, his expression softening. What I want is simple, he began, pinching his lips before continuing, as if selecting his words carefully. I want to help you unlock your potential, and in return, I aim to do something meaningful with my resources. But more than that, I need to know the person I'm working with is grounded and driven. Her heart raced as Nathan's honesty painted a picture of sincerity that she hadn't anticipated. She pondered the implications. Could she really trust him? Hadn't she spent years putting up walls around her aspirations to protect herself from pain? Emma shifted her weight, looking toward the dim glow of streetlights outside. And what do you do, Nathan? What's your background? A piece of her felt audacious for prying, but this was the negotiation of her dreams, and she needed transparency. I come from a background in finance, but I've always sought to channel my skills towards something more purposeful, he replied, a hint of vulnerability surfacing in his voice. I want to build businesses that make a difference, not just profitable ventures. Your vision for a cafe could be transformative, breaking barriers beyond mere coffee and pastries. Feeling the gravity of Nathan's statement, Emma reflected on the vision she had for her cafe. It was more than just a place to serve coffee. It had the potential to be a community hub, fostering creativity and connection. But could she lean on Nathan's expertise while still asserting her own voice? Okay, Emma declared, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Let's define how we can merge our strengths. What specific steps do we take next? First, we'll need a comprehensive business plan, Nathan instructed, drawing out his phone to jot down ideas. We should analyze your market, identify your target audience, and, most importantly, clarify your brand identity. I want to help you express the essence of what this cafe means to you. Emma's mind whirled with possibilities, each idea swirling as she envisioned the documents that would come to life through her passion. I want my cafe to feel like a safe space, where people can explore new ideas and connect with one another, she articulated, her imagination sparking. Nathan nodded, clearly impressed. Then, the branding must resonate with that core. It'll need to communicate warmth and creativity, not just another coffee shop, but a lifestyle. Her pulse quickened as the future began to unfurl in front of her. They spent hours brainstorming, tearing apart and reconstructing ideas, each exchange sharpening her focus and clarity of purpose. But beneath the exchange of ideas thrummed a different current, a growing chemistry between them that was impossible to ignore. Yet, just as she settled into the rhythm of their collaboration, flashes of her past flickered across her mind. The betrayal, a friend who had once laughed with her about dreams, now a ghost she felt destined to confront. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, willing those thoughts away. I have to get my past in check before I leap into this, she finally confessed, her voice faltering. Nathan paused, concern etching his features. You can't let that define you, Emma. What matters now is how you choose to move forward. But it's holding me back, she whispered, her conviction waning. If she didn't address the specter of betrayal soon, how could she expect to build this future with clarity? Then let's confront it together, Nathan offered, leaning closer. Prepare for this confrontation. Prepare yourself. We'll face whatever it is, together, and build the kind of future you dream of. Emma gazed into his earnest eyes, realizing that deeper than business interest lay a shared respect and the beginnings of trust. Was she ready to strip herself of those defenses? To confront past wounds while nurturing her ambitions? As they formulated actionable steps for the venture, Emma clung to the idea that perhaps this moment transcended mere business. It was about healing and forging a new identity. With her heart racing, she acknowledged the impending confrontation, the ghost that yet needed facing. The choice loomed before her. Embrace her past, or let it linger as a burden. Rejuvenated by a newfound clarity, she said more boldly, I'll do it. I'll face them. And as she spoke those words, an undercurrent of fear and excitement surged within her, intertwining like ivy around a pillar. What awaited her on that uncertain path? Caught between the thrill of a burgeoning partnership with Nathan and the shadows of betrayal, Emma knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. But deep down, a burgeoning fear rattled her. What if facing the truth unraveled everything she was building? The answer awaited her, a revelation lurking just beyond the horizon of her new venture. Emma's decision to confront her past settled heavily on her shoulders, a mix of weight and liberation intertwining within her. The prospect had ignited something within her, a flicker of courage mixed with trepidation. As she turned her thoughts back to the café, she could almost taste the aroma of fresh coffee and feel the warmth of meaningful conversations bubbling within her imagined walls. But the specter from her past loomed, casting shadows over her aspirations. For the next few days, Emma immersed herself in developing the business plan with Nathan, each session generating exhilarating ideas. They molded her vision, chipping away at the anxieties that had held her back. Yet each brainstorming session was punctuated by quick flashes of betrayal, a friend's laughter transforming into mockery. She couldn't shake the disquieting nag of doubts each time she discussed her dreams with Nathan. Let's focus on the branding again, Nathan suggested one Friday evening, his brow furrowed in concentration. What makes your cafe unique? Emma hesitated, staring blankly at the myriad of ideas scattered before her. She faltered, the words catching in her throat. Would she even know how to express it? Each time she was poised to articulate a vision, the disappointment from her past flickered as a reminder of her vulnerabilities. Take a moment, Emma. Just breathe, Nathan encouraged, his voice steady. What do you want people to feel when they walk through the door? She closed her eyes, allowing herself to picture the cafe again, the warmth of sunlight streaming in, the laughter of friends catching up, and the thrill of creativity spilling over from the walls. I want it to be a refuge, she finally said, a new fire igniting in her voice, a place where people come to be inspired and supported. Nathan smiled, but his expression hardened. Then why allow the past to haunt you? That's what you need to confront, the fear that's holding you back from claiming that identity. His words settled uncomfortably in the pit of her stomach. She could articulate what she wanted, but the past remained a barricade she couldn't seem to navigate. There was no denying it. The groping fear wrapped around her heart felt insurmountable. That evening Emma sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by the muted chatter of the city outside. Her past felt like a tempestuous sea crashing against the edges of her determination. She grabbed her journal, swirling the pen in her fingers, and began a stream of thoughts. Memories flooded her mind. Her friend's betrayal replayed vividly, a tape she couldn't manage to fast-forward through. Every word she penned danced between vulnerability and resolution. "I can't keep letting this define me. I've got to confront this," she wrote, determination seeping into the ink. As days passed, Emma began to sketch out how to broach the topic with the friend who had betrayed her. It wasn't merely about accountability. She needed to show that she had grown, evolving beyond that moment of weakness. Each draft she penned brought forth a firm resolve, yet waves of doubt crashed against her courage. What if confronting this unfolded further insecurities she wasn't ready to face? "Have you thought about how you'll approach it?" Nathan asked during one of their meetings. His inquiry dripped with concern. Emma met his gaze, swallowing the knot still lodged in her throat. I'm getting ready to do it," she confessed, surprising herself with the depth of her own voice. "Then let's strategize," he urged, his eyes narrowing with a fighter's intensity. "You need to prepare for how this will affect you. Be ready for the impact." Yet with his encouragement came an unsettling realization. This journey wasn't solely about a café anymore. It was about self-respect, boundaries, and a commitment to herself, to her own evolution. The day of confrontation drew closer, her heart a pendulum swinging between anticipation and fear. On the eve of the meeting, Emma crafted numerous mental rehearsals, rebuilding her confidence with each trial run. What if the confrontation did unravel everything? What if the wounds opened further? Nevertheless, each heartbeat whispered a reminder that true growth required pain. Tomorrow held a decisive moment. The brewing storm of memories would collide with the boldness of her future. Emma steadied her breath as she slipped her notes into her bag. She realized she was not just facing her past. She was embracing a renewed sense of strength that had been hidden for too long. Could she really do this? The answer was lurking in the shadows, waiting to unravel alongside her courage. As she turned off the lights and settled into bed, the anticipation hung thick in the air. Tomorrow would bring clarity or chaos. Either way, it would be transformative. Would she emerge stronger, ready to fuel her ambitions, or would the past entrap her once more? There was a world of stakes at play, and the moment of truth was beckoning. Emma felt the thrill pulsing through her veins. Fate awaited her next move. Emma woke up to the soft light filtering through her window, a nudge from the universe urging her to confront the day ahead. Her heart raced, echoing a battle cry within her. Today was the day. The cafe dream shimmered tantalizingly close, but first, she had to face the specter that haunted her ambitions. After a quick breakfast, she stood in front of the mirror, forcing herself to look directly into her own eyes. "You've got this," she whispered, almost willing her reflection to reflect the conviction she was trying to muster. Yet the knot of anxiety in her stomach threatened to unravel her courage as she recalled the laughter that once stung her heart. When Emma arrived at the designated meeting spot, a small cafe not too different from the one she envisioned, she felt a surge of memories flooding her senses. The atmosphere hummed with laughter, people trading stories over steaming mugs, a sense of camaraderie so palpable it made her envious. Instead of succumbing to that jealousy, though, she inhaled deeply, grounding herself in the moment. This cafe was a reminder of what she wanted to achieve. Arriving early, she settled into a corner booth, fidgeting with her notes and trying to breathe through the flutter of nerves. She rehearsed her lines silently, bracing herself for the confrontation. Each breath felt both heavy and cleansing as she caught sight of her betrayer walking through the door. Sophie appeared, the sunlight that flooded the cafe seeming to highlight the contrast between them. Emma, brightened with determination, and Sophie, cloaked in doubt, yet unaware of the reckoning that awaited her. Emma's heart pounded. Did Sophie know the depth of pain her betrayal had caused? "Hey," Sophie greeted, slipping into the seat opposite Emma with a casual ease that belied the tension beneath the surface. The smile tugged at Emma's heart, twisting it in unexpected knots. Familiarity clashed against confrontation. The discomfort was intense, yet it propelled Emma forward. "Thanks for coming," Emma replied, voice steadier than she felt. The ice had to be broken, and deep down, she knew that clarity was needed, even if it was uncomfortable. Sophie's eyes widened just slightly, a momentary flicker of awareness, but Emma pressed on. "I wanted to talk about what happened between us." The words hung heavy in the air, unsettling yet liberating. Declaring her intent felt like unleashing a wild beast. A silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the clinking of coffee cups and the soft chatter of nearby tables. Emma felt every restless eye on her, her inner doubts rising to the surface. "You hurt me," she stated bluntly, all the softening she had rehearsed slipping away. The frankness surprised both of them, and for once, the truth was stripped bare. Sophie shifted, her expression faltering. She began, but Emma cut her off, the surge of empowerment thrumming through her veins. "And I've let that hurt shape me. It's like I've been living in a shadow of that hurt, instead of stepping into the light of who I want to become." Each word felt like a piece of armor being fitted onto her frame, strong yet flexible, ready for whatever came next. There was a moment of disbelief in Sophie's eyes. "I never meant to—" "I know you didn't," Emma interrupted, feeling the sudden release of years of pent-up frustration. "But I can't keep this between us bottled up any longer. It's time for both of us to understand the impact of that moment." The vulnerability in Emma's voice echoed against the backdrop of their shared history. Pressures clouded her mind. Would this lead to reconciliation, or would it extinguish the last remnants of their friendship? Sophie's shoulders sank, and Emma watched as realization dawned in her eyes. "I'm sorry. It was a terrible mistake." The words hung between them, carrying weight and consequence. With each passing second, Emma felt a paradox emerging. Acceptance and grief intertwined, pushing her towards a new horizon. She had confronted her past, and for the first time, she felt empowered to shape her future. But even as one door seemed to open, another stood waiting to close. The conversation had rattled something loose, and Emma couldn't help but wonder, would the ramifications echo far beyond this moment? As the meeting unfolded, Emma realized she had more than just her past to confront. Something else lurked beneath the surface, a challenge she hadn't fully anticipated, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Would she be ready to tackle whatever came next, or would this newfound strength falter under the weight of revelations yet to unfold? Uncertainty danced in her mind, but the thrill of discovery flared with more fervor than ever. Today was just the beginning. Tomorrow promised another cliffhanger. Emma watched as Sophie processed the weight of her apology. The once casual café bustling around them faded into a blur, leaving only the two of them tethered by a history steeped in unresolved emotions. Emma felt a flutter of anxious anticipation, that intensifying when she realized this was more than just a confrontation. It was a crossroads for both of them. "I've held on to that pain for too long," Emma continued, both surprised and emboldened by her own words. "I thought distancing myself would help, but it just festered." She gazed into Sophie's eyes, searching for a flicker of understanding, a shared recognition of their flawed past. "Emma, Sophie's voice broke, her brow furrowing in distress. "I can't change what I did, but I'm deeply sorry." The sincerity in her tone struck a chord within Emma, awakening long-buried feelings. Yet as comfort washed over Emma, a gnawing urgency surged forward. "It's not just about forgiveness, Soph. It's about moving on. I can't rebuild my future if I'm anchored to what we had." Silence pulsed between them, tension mingling with hope, as Emma's mind raced through the implications of her words. She didn't just want to excise the pain, she longed for liberation from it. But could she do that without reconciling with Sophie fully? "I see you trying to push forward, and it's inspiring," Sophie said, her vulnerability growing raw. "But I also see that you're not quite there yet. What if it's not as simple as just letting me go?" Emma sighed, feeling the weight of truth in Sophie's words. Letting go felt like stripping away a part of herself. Hadn't their shared memories been woven into the fabric of her identity? What would it mean to separate those threads? "I know now it has to be," Emma replied, adding a steely resolve to her tone. "I found something in myself that I didn't know existed, the desire to stand on my own." In that moment, Emma recognized the growth burgeoning within her. It wasn't merely an act of releasing her past, it was an acknowledgement of her capacity to forge a new identity. With each word, she built an internal foundation that felt both precarious and unshakable. Sophie studied her, and as their eyes locked, Emma sensed a profound shift taking place. "Promise me you'll keep evolving," Sophie said, her voice breaking the weighty silence. "You're more than what happened between us." Emma nodded, feeling the swell of hope and agency rush through her. "I will." As they moved toward a tentative resolution, Emma felt an undercurrent of anticipation stirring within her. Life was unfolding in uncharted territories. The conversation had ignited a spark, setting her ablaze with desires beyond mending a fractured past. Yet just as she began to breathe easier, a troubling thought crept in. What did a future without Sophie truly look like? As she pondered new opportunities unfurling ahead, the realization hit. She had yet to explore a life pulsating with ambition. What kind of cafe would fulfill her dreams if this were only the start? The thought ignited a flurry of ideas. She could envision not just a cafe but a vibrant hub radiating creativity, a community space for sharing art, laughter, and stories. Everything she had yearned for. However, the burgeoning visions were entangled with fear of failure and self-doubt. The ambition felt intoxicating, yet insurmountable. What if she couldn't manifest her dreams into reality? Emma fought against the racing whirlpool of her thoughts. "I need to take action," she whispered under her breath, finding clarity in the burgeoning turmoil. If she was going to be the architect of her own future, it demanded bold steps. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message notification, pulling her attention sharply back to the present. Glancing down, her heart skipped, an invitation to pitch her cafe concept to a renowned entrepreneurship group. The moment felt electric. Was this the chance she had been waiting for? But the decision weighed heavily. Would she embrace the uncertainty that lay ahead? Emma's pulse quickened as she looked up, meeting Sophie's gaze. This was the moment of truth. She had to decide whether to launch forth or retreat into safety. "Are you scared?" Sophie asked, her voice steady, capturing Emma's swirling thoughts. "Yes," Emma replied, the honesty in her voice surprising even her. "But I think that's the point. If I'm going to step into my future, I have to be willing to take that leap." Sophie nodded, a flicker of pride igniting in her eyes. "Then do it. Follow that fear. You'll surprise yourself." As they both absorbed the gravity of the moment, Emma recognized that while their friendship may have changed, her growth was just beginning. She stood on the precipice of a new adventure, ready to embrace both the thrill and the trepidation of what lay ahead. With her heart racing, Emma realized that sometimes, leaping forward meant not just confronting the past, but charting her own uncharted course. What awaited her on the horizon felt intoxicating and utterly terrifying. Could she muster the courage to pitch her dreams, or would self-doubt cast her ambitions back into shadow? As she composed her thoughts and poised her next move, the question lingered tantalizingly, leaving the air thick with possibility. Emma left the cafe feeling a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins, the world outside buzzing with possibilities that had once seemed foreign. She had faced a pivotal moment, one that shifted her focus from lingering over the past to envisioning a future unbound by previous constraints. Each step away from Sophie felt deliberate, a transition from uncertainty to burgeoning ambition. The invitation to pitch her cafe concept lingered in her thoughts like an alluring melody. It pulsated with the energy of chance and possibility, igniting a flame within her. Yet the thought of preparing for the pitch also unearthed waves of panic. How do you transform thoughts and dreams into something concrete? Would her ideas resonate with those who held the keys to her aspirations? As Emma made her way home, the distance between her and her dreams felt cavernous. She needed a plan, a tangible strategy to confront the rising tide of self-doubt that threatened to pull her back under. Once in her apartment, she opened her laptop and began researching entrepreneurial pitches. It was a new vocabulary she needed to master. Terms like value proposition, market analysis, and business model canvas filled her screen, terminology that made her head spin and her heart race. Emma found herself oscillating between excitement and anxiety. She questioned her ability at every turn. Was she really cut out for this? Could a mere idea morph into a vibrant, successful business? The fear of failure clung to her like a shadow, but nestled within that fear was a flickering defiance, a desire to prove not just to others, but, more importantly, to herself that she could conquer the unknown. After hours of research, Emma decided to outline her pitch, framing it less as a presentation and more as a story. A narrative about her vision for a cafe that was more than just a place to grab coffee. It would be a haven for creativity, a sanctuary for anyone seeking inspiration and connection. With each line she wrote, she felt the accumulation of her experiences stir her purpose. Her thoughts turned to the moments that shaped her, the memories of laughter shared over coffee, the solace found in warm, inviting spaces. These were not just features, but emotions that could anchor her pitch. She would need those emotions to invigorate her presentation. As she closed her laptop for the night, a sense of determination replaced the uncertainty that had marked her earlier. She had a rough draft, a starting point for a greater journey. With a deep breath, Emma acknowledged that this was more than a professional venture. It encompassed her growth and transformation. But still, An unsettling thought lingered, one that threatened to unravel her newfound clarity. What if she faltered when it truly mattered? The following days blurred into a whirlwind of preparation. She immersed herself in practice sessions, rehearsing not only the pitch, but dissecting the reflections of her past. Emma confronted not just what she hoped to achieve, but who she could become in the process. Each word spoken in the mirror fortified her belief, even as doubt crept back with quiet whispers of inadequacy. Finally, the day of the pitch arrived. Emma stood before the audience, her palms clammy, heart nearly thrumming out of her chest. As she began speaking, doubts rushed in, layering her confidence with hesitation. But she fought back, drawing from the depths of her vision. She wove her narrative with conviction, allowing herself to feel every story, every aspiration, which soon turned into a dance of passion and authenticity. Midway through her presentation, she noticed a subtle shift in the room. The initial skepticism of the audience began to morph into intrigue. She could see them leaning in, their attention sharpening. Was she breaking through, finally aligning her vulnerabilities with their interests? But just as her confidence surged, a voice interrupted. "What makes you think you can bring something so ambitious to life?" The question sliced through her momentum like a knife, dragging her back to that fearful place. Emma paused, fingers trembling slightly as she grappled with the unexpected challenge. She had to respond, and honestly. "Because every step I take is a commitment to myself, and I believe that every ambition is worth fighting for, worth sharing." The vulnerability of her words laid bare her internal battle, revealing that this endeavor was more than a mere business idea. It was a testament to her growth, her acknowledgement of fear as a stepping stone rather than a barrier. As she continued, Emma felt a unity between her past and the moment unfolding. Would they see her for who she had become, or would her fear seal her fate? The answer was unwritten, the outcome a mystery poised on the edge of revelation. In those precious moments, time felt suspended. As she ended her pitch, Emma sensed the audience's contemplative energy. The verdict loomed larger than she had ever anticipated. What awaited her in the silence that followed? Would this be the moment she had envisioned, or the beginning of another difficult lesson? Emma's heart raced, her future hinged on the next few seconds, and the world outside fell away as she braced for the response. The room fell silent, the weight of anticipation hanging palpable in the air. Emma held her breath, the uncertainty pulsing within her like an electric current. Had she truly connected, or had her words simply faded into an abyss of skepticism? As her gaze swept over the audience, she caught sight of a few furrowed brows, a couple of hesitant nods. Her heart raced in tandem with her thoughts, spiraling through the possibilities that lay ahead. "Thank you, Emma," the lead investor finally said, his tone neutral yet probing. "Your passion is evident, but vision alone doesn't guarantee success. I need to know, why this café? Why now?" The question hit her like a punch to the gut. She had rehearsed this moment, but now her carefully crafted responses teetered on the brink of escape. Wasn't it enough that she had poured her soul into this project? People need spaces that promote connection and creativity, especially in a fast-paced world that often feels isolating, she found herself saying, her voice steadier than she felt. That urgency, the very heartbeat of her vision, propelled her forward. As she spoke, fragments of her path flickered in her mind. The countless hours spent daydreaming in cramped corners of other cafes, the comforting familiarity of warm cups cradled in her palms, the sound of laughter and clinking cups honing her desire. These were threads weaving her story. "My café will be a space where people can meet, collaborate, and find solace in one another's company. It's about creating community through shared experiences." A few heads nodded, and a ripple of encouragement flowed through the room. She was not just sharing a concept, she was embodying a philosophy. It was as if a door to her purpose had cracked open wider, inviting a rush of newfound confidence. But just as she felt herself gaining momentum, another voice interjected, stepping deeper into the dialogue. "And if this doesn't work, what's next? Do you have a backup plan? A safety net?" The skepticism nestled within the question wrapped itself around her vision, squeezing. Emma's mind wrestled with the thought. It would be easy to lean back into doubt, to cling to an exit plan woven from fear. Yet she found herself standing on the precipice of decision. "No, I don't. My safety net is my determination," she replied firmly, eyes intent on the skeptical individual. "Every entrepreneur embarks on this journey knowing the risks. I refuse to shackle my potential with a what-if. This is my moment to leap." The audience stirred, the collective atmosphere mixing curiosity with skepticism. Emma could feel their scrutiny burrowing deeper as they assessed her ambition, her resolve. A visceral mixture of doubt and momentum surged within her. Was it bold or reckless to commit completely? Was it wisdom or folly to discard an exit strategy where failure lurked like a shadow at the periphery? As she settled back into her rhythm, Emma realized that this was her test, not merely of concept, but of her own courage to embrace the chaos of entrepreneurship. Her words plunged into a cascade of personal growth, each sentence shedding another layer of her former self. She was no longer just a woman with a dream. She was transforming into an architect of her own reality. With the final inflection of her voice, she let out a breath, allowing her final thoughts to resonate deeply. I'm not just asking for funding. I'm inviting you to believe in a vision that has roots in authenticity and passion. One that, if nurtured, could blossom into something beautiful and sustainable. There it was, a vulnerability, raw and exposed, radiating her commitment. Emma had stepped fully into the space of disarming honesty. The feedback loomed, ominous yet exhilarating, as the energy shifted once more. Would they see the truth in her hopes, or would they dismiss her ambition as a fleeting fantasy? The tension in the room thickened, hearts racing alongside hers as each second ticked by. Emma could feel that new seed of determination rooting itself deeper. This was a defining moment, meant not just for her pitch, but for who she was becoming. The eyes of the audience bore into her, demanding more than just business savvy. They sought authenticity. The lead investor leaned back, stroking his chin as he exchanged glances with his colleagues. Emma grasped the unwavering rhythm of her heartbeat, and in that space, she recognized she had already come so far, regardless of the outcome. But as she steadied her breath, she felt the primal urge to push beyond the precipice of rejection or acceptance. What if those moments opened doors she had never considered? What if her pitch was just the catalyst for something much larger within her? Just then, the lead investor finally spoke again, his voice cutting through the air with intent. Let's talk about the next steps. Emma's heart leaped, but shadows crept in. What would they ask her that could unravel her newly crafted resolve? Before she could fully process, the tension surged anew. Emma stood at an exhilarating crossroads. This was just the beginning, but what lay ahead felt much more daunting than ever. And as the conversation unfolded, she wrestled with the growing question. Could she maintain her authenticity while navigating the complex world of entrepreneurial expectations? Emma emerged from the negotiation room, a blend of exhilaration and disbelief coursing through her veins. She had done it. She shared her vision, claimed her space, and poured her heart into that pitch. The lead investor's words were music to her ears. Let's talk about the next steps. But beyond the validation, in the depths of her core, she felt something transformative unfolding. Over the next few weeks, as the realm of possibility stretched before her like a vast horizon, Emma found herself fully immersed in the exhilarating chaos of entrepreneurship. Each day, she delved deeper into defining her cafe's identity, collaborating with Nathan, who had proven to be an invaluable partner. Together, they charted a course, blending her vision with his expertise. Creating more than just a business, they were pioneering a sanctuary for connection and creativity. Emma reveled in the changes rippling through her. Where uncertainty once constrained her, clarity now flourished. Focus on the customer experience, Nathan reminded her during brainstorming sessions. Make it an extension of who you are. And with every conversation, Emma felt layers of self-doubt peeling away, replaced by a resolute confidence. She understood she was no longer just a dreamer. She was becoming a doer. During one particularly charged meeting, while discussing branding elements, a bold idea sparked within her. What if we incorporate local artists into our cafe space, showcase their work as part of the atmosphere while supporting the community? The words blurted forth, igniting an infectious enthusiasm in the room. Nathan's eyes lit up, and the team rallied around the concept, igniting a collaborative spirit that electrified Emma further. You see, Emma, Nathan said, a smile breaking across his face. You're demonstrating leadership. Your vision is taking shape. That moment crystallized her transformation. Emma could feel the shifts within her, distinguishing between the woman she had been and the force she was rapidly becoming. She had not only confronted her past, but was actively rewriting her narrative in real time. Each phone call with suppliers, every meeting with prospective partners, Emma approached them with a newfound resilience. As the cafe's opening day approached, anticipation churned within her, intertwined with the weight of emotions she had reclaimed. She even managed to reconnect with Sophie, extending an olive branch that, while tentative, reflected her growth. They shared a coffee, ironically in the very cafe Emma had once seen as a mere dream. "I'm proud of you," Sophie remarked, genuine warmth filling the space between them. It felt liberating to openly express that sentiment, free from the burdens of their fractured past. The opening day finally arrived, and Emma stood in front of her cafe, the sign gleaming in the early morning light. Emma's Haven. She felt electric. Her heart swelled. Friends, family, and a handful of curious locals had come to see the embodiment of her dreams materialize. As the doors swung open and the first customers stepped inside, Emma's heart raced, not from nerves, but from pride. The art began to draw attention. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air like a warm embrace. Laughter and conversation began to fill the once quiet space. "Welcome to Emma's Haven," she greeted each guest, her voice steady and confident. With every interaction, Emma felt the invigorating thrill of purpose. In the days that followed, as word spread about her cafe, Emma reveled in the unfolding connections. The laughter of patrons filled the air while community members collaborated over steaming cups. She witnessed her vision translate into reality, a creative sanctuary where storytelling ignited inspiration. With Nathan's guidance, she further developed her business acumen, engaging in courses to refine her skills. Each lecture expanded her passion. She was becoming proficient in her craft and discovering strengths she never realized existed. She was conquering not just the business world but her inner landscape. Months later, Emma received an invitation to speak at a local entrepreneurship panel. When her name was called and she stepped up to the podium, a wave of gratitude enveloped her. The audience eagerly leaned forward, anticipation written on their faces. Emma took a steadying breath, her heart echoing the rhythm of purpose. This journey began not just with the desire for a cafe, she began with clarity, but with the imperative to redefine my narrative, to emerge from my past, and embrace the possibilities of today. I believe that every setback is a stepping stone to reclaiming the courage within. Her voice rang with conviction, and the audience responded with murmurs of approval and nods of understanding. She concluded, radiating confidence bolstered by her journey. "Trust in your vision, because your dreams are worth pursuing. Stand tall and allow your passion to lead the way." As Emma returned to her seat, the applause swelled around her. But she felt different, not merely a recipient of praise, but a woman transformed, unshackled from doubt. This was her moment, not just as a business owner but as a recognized leader in her own right. With that realization, Emma understood the profound truth. She didn't just build a cafe, she had forged an identity grounded in resilience, ambition, and authenticity. She was ready for what lay ahead, confident in her ability to navigate the thrilling uncertainties of life. Emma smiled. She had not only achieved her dream, but had emerged stronger, more empowered than she could have ever imagined. Now she fully embraced the path carved by her choices, intent on continuing her journey of growth and connection. This was only the beginning, and the future, vibrant and expansive, awaited her with open arms. You need to subscribe now to catch the unfolding stories of personal triumph. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm for more incredible emotional journeys. Comment your reactions and thoughts on this phenomenal transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to uncover their own paths to greatness. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.